65 Sports. Top 5 jobs that could be open in 2025. This is a college basketball list. Number 5, FSU, Leonard Hamilton. This might just be me hoping for a change. Look, Leonard Hamilton's done a fantastic job at Florida State. He's been there a very long time. He's gotten them to Sweet 16s. Won the ACC tournament a few years ago. Like 2020, FSU was really gearing up to be a team that was going to be playing on the last weekend. Now, granted, they would have lost to Kansas, Baylor, or Gonzaga that year. But they were just on a tear. They had maybe the best team he's ever put together. In the subsequent years, it's just gone down and down and down. As the transfer portal, NIL, and all that, he's not against it, and he's used it. It's just not hitting anymore. There in Tallahassee. Now, part of the problem I do think is they don't have a dedicated basketball arena. They play in the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center, which I've never been a fan of as a sports venue.
Is that even on campus? Kinda.
Yes. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's just off. Like, it's not. I would compare it to. I mean, it's like. It's not even, It's negligible.
Okay.
It's not anywhere most of the kids in the dorms can walk to a game, but I don't think that happens most places anyway.
Yeah.
They have buses and stuff that run to it, so it's not like a huge deal. But I just think that they're, and especially if they're going to change conferences, that they've got to maybe make a move and double down on the basketball program. It's just, he's been there a long time, and that's great. He's been there since I was in college. So
yeah, it's probably time for a change.
It's probably time for a change, especially considering the last 3 years they haven't really done anything. So I have my wish list.
Who would be your go-to? If you could have any coach, who's your go-to?
It'd be Jerome Tang.
Straight up Jerome?
Yeah, I think he could do well there. Now, look, John Jacobs lives about 5 hours, 6 hours away now, so if he does well at FAU, I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad. Like Bucky Ball, wouldn't care. I wouldn't mind about that. Like Will Wade, go get him.
Yeah.
Go, if he's not allowed to be hired in the SEC, go get him.
So weird. When Josh said that, it kind of makes sense. It would track why his name hadn't been called up. But he would be great for the FSU.
He does not respect the authority of.
He don't need to. That's what I love about it.
So go get Will Wade. I'll love it. But so far, no. And he lost, Leonard Hamilton did lose an assistant that became a head coach somewhere else, and that's kind of changed things there as well. Number 4, Arizona State. One Hurley's doing great. The other one, not yet at Arizona State. Bobby Hurley, who until the last couple of years was the more famous of the Hurleys because of his time as the point guard at Duke, because he was there with Leitner and Grant Hill and all those guys. Bobby Hurley and Arizona State, under 500 this year. I think they were 14 and 18. And they're about to come into a way better basketball league. Not knocking the Pac-12, but look, you're not going to get nights off in the Big 12. Arizona State, plus a new athletic director on the way. Things are changing at Arizona State. So if those programs around don't start winning, the athletic director has no reason coming in as a new hire to keep you at all. So Bobby Hurley is probably on a little bit of a watch there in Tempe.
I've always been I've never understood how Arizona's consistently good at basketball, but Arizona State will pop up once or twice every decade. But they're so inconsistent. So they're going to have to bring it because it's going to be extremely difficult to be able to even compete in the Big 12 next season.
Well, look, the thing of your Arizona State right now, you look across at your in-state rival Arizona.
Yeah.
You're both going into a new conference. Arizona's going in flying high, and you're going in going, oh, we got to change everything.
Yeah, head above water, barely.
And so that was not necessarily the case forever. And Arizona with football right now, they're very new blood, but they've got an exciting quarterback. They've got, even though they lost their coach, they got a coach that everybody feels good about. Kenny Dillingham's bringing a lot of excitement to Arizona State in football, but basketball, I would say that Bobby Hurley, it doesn't help that his brother is just
that's definitely not
the number one dude in the country right now. Number 3, Villanova, had an off year this year. For sure. And they're not at that Jay Wright level. I don't think that's going to be, but if they have another off year, a bad year, then they're not going to sit and wait around. This is what they have. This is what they have. They're a basketball school.
Yeah.
They're going to have to double down on that. And, the Big East is really good. So,
well, that's another thing, too. It's like now with the Big East, Villanova has established themselves as like one of the brands, whereas for years, they were kind of like getting lost. So, yeah, you've got a little taste of it now. Now you just got to be consistent. Even if you turn in or go back to being what Creighton is, where you're always in the mix, and I think they will. I think they're going to be fine. They got the infrastructure there. It's just a matter of getting it done and finding the right people there.
Yeah. And, look, they're in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's a basketball mecca.
Well, we also know Philadelphia, their sports fans are reasonable human beings.
Yes, they are.
There's nobody who's more measured in their looks in their takes in sports than a Philadelphia sports fan. I honestly do believe that, it's a law in Philadelphia that you're not allowed to state a sports opinion unless you are absolutely
drunk and yelling.
Off your ass.
Yeah.
And drunk. You can't be I don't think the Eagles should sign Devontae Smith to a long-term deal just yet. Let's give him one more year and see if that's in. It's got to be 5 deep going, of course they should. I'll throw you through the glass of this Wallace. I think that's what they would do. Number 2, Texas. Rodney Terry heading to the SEC, really good basketball conference. I think he might be a little overmatched for this job. Mm-hmm. He's got to get the rabbit ears down. He's got to just focus on – he can recruit. There's no doubt that Rodney Terry can recruit. But is he one of those dudes who can recruit and then they just can't come together? He had a flashpoint event when Chris Beard got fired of. We're all in this together. Let's buckle down. And that's why they made their good run. Without that event to join the team together, this Texas team was one that either had the best chemistry you'd ever seen or the worst. And it was so weird how they would turn it on and turn it off. Or you remember in A Christmas Story where Clark is trying to
plug in.
He has no idea why it's on or off. But Ellen was in there flipping the switch in the garage. That's kind of what Texas was last year, where they would turn on and then Rodney Terry's like, holy crap, what do we do? And then he gets mad about things like the horns down.
Yeah,
he got in an argument here with Nikki Collin that was about really nothing, and he made a big deal about nothing. It was not a day of a game. It was it was really strange. He's and those things happen, and you start throwing those things out when you're trying to find I've got to do those scatter bombs so that the missile doesn't hit me. That's the evasive maneuvers. And he's got to just – I think he's going to be a good head coach somewhere someday, and maybe that place is at Texas. But that is a place where you cannot listen to anything that anybody says about you at all. Tom Herman learned that lesson.
When I look at him, I look at this kind of like the Shaka situation where you are a good coach, but everything around you in the program, you might not be the right person to be built for that. And you can go to a smaller school and have sustained success. But if you look at this team, that's inexcusable for them to not have more success than they had this year. They were absolutely loaded across the board. I honestly thought they would get rid of him before they made the move into the SEC, but I kind of understand it. Just give him a year to see what you can do. But if you go in and you start getting you're going to have to play Chris Beard. And that's going to be an issue whether he wants to think it is or not, especially if you get beat by him. So I think he's got a short leash heading to the SEC, and I honestly don't see him being Texas head coach after next season.
Yep. And number 1, Indiana, Mike Woodson.
That poor guy.
They care about one thing.
Yeah.
One thing. Basketball. They have not been consistently good in a very long time.
Which is weird with NIL. You would think they would have big donors coming out.
But it's just been so long. Here's the thing. This generation of kids doesn't know about Bobby Knight. I mean, they know about him, but they don't. But Bobby Knight's dead.
Yeah.
And they ran him out the door. So they're upset because Michigan hired Dusty May, who was a student manager for Bobby Knight, and they thought he would maybe come back home and fix things there. But it's not like they've got to stop thinking that they're Indiana
of the 80s.
Of the 80s.
Yeah.
And that Hoosiers is a movie that was made recently, you know, and that wasn't even about them. That was a high school basketball. Yeah. But like those things, like Indiana is a basketball mecca. Like they love their basketball in that state. They love it. They have to find the right guy who can reinvigorate it. Mm-hmm. But I've surprised for years that Indiana has not like found it. And part of it is, you know, they're kind of like where Michigan was in football until Harbaugh. Like they had their guy, he left, and then they kept trying to find somebody to bring the old magic back as opposed to creating new magic.
Do you think Purdue's success this year will push this and what is that going to do with this?
Absolutely. Look, it does not help that you look across the state and Matt Painter has a team that's regularly a number 1 seed now. That does not help.
And then Indiana State having the success they had.
Indiana State was closer to the tournament than Indiana was. Indiana State kind of got screwed.
They did get screwed.
Right? So Indiana didn't get screwed on anything. They just didn't make the tournament. So, and again, I'm not knocking Mike Woodson. I think he's been a guy who has taken jobs that are not right for him.
That's one way of putting it.
You know, stepping into a situation like, look, LeBron James wanted him to be the head coach, and then he really didn't.
Yeah. That's a totally derailed thing of head.
Yeah. So, you know,
at least he's not the only one. LeBron's done that too.
No. Michael Jordan only did a one coach.
Yeah, he did.
Who we mentioned earlier in this segment, Leonard Hamilton. I remember thinking, like, when they hired him, well, this is a great deal. Like, yeah, he wasn't good enough for Michael Jordan, but, like,
good enough for us.
Only one guy was, and that was Phil Jackson. So, or two guys, Dean Smith and Phil Jackson.
Yep.
There we go. Good enough. And it wound up being better than Steve Robinson, who was the coach before him. But, yeah, no, I don't know. But Indiana is befuddling to me.
They are.
And I do feel like, I'm sure their vibe is a lot like A&M in football. Like, we love this so much, and we just want it would be so wonderful if we could just have it. If we could just be what we want to be. Mm-hmm. We love it so much. And then, you know, like, they pray, like, God, I promise we'll be good at, like, we'll be the good kind of powerhouse. We'll do good things. We'll be so good with it. Why can't we have it? And it's maybe because you squeeze the bunny too hard.
Yep.
Sometimes you squeeze the bunny too hard. I think Kentucky fans are squeezing the bunny really hard right now. And, you know, that
could be another thing, too, like with the crazed fan. Like, do you want to go into a situation like that?
Hey, Metal said, come on, Paul. You snubbed Memphis, man. All right. Honorable mention, Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers.
I mean, he's doing some stuff.
I probably should have put them in there instead of Leonard Hamilton, because he just needs to retire.
Yeah.
Like, he's not really in danger of getting fired. Like, if he gets fired, it'll be one of those things like, you know, here's your gold watch.
Thank you for your services.
Yeah. Thanks, Lenny. And, you know, where, like, what they did to Bobby. But Penny should have been on the list. My apologies. Look, I strive for excellence here.
You do.
I strive for excellence, or just good enoughness, depending on the day. And by leaving them out, Metal, I apologize.